Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy CLT here with kind of an impromptu cast. I was debating whether to record the replays of this or not, but my intention was to get this game casted, and we were kind of down a caster yesterday. So I covered the Scorch series, and I told this team that, or these guys, I should say, that either way it was going to get out there, and if I got a caster with a replay, I will. And for those that know me, I try to be a man of my word 100% of the time. So here we go. We've got Solace Endeavour versus Femboys. Again, this is a series from last night. And I heard it's a pretty entertaining series with all things considered. I know there was an e-sub coming out for Femboys, which understandably it happens, but the situation was brought up by the Solace Endeavour squad, and actually it created a very big discussion amongst the mod teams on how we could word some of that. So, yeah, all in all, I think we handled it really well. I think both teams were fairly satisfied, but I think they trust us that after this situation came up, that we can learn from it on how to not necessarily handle it, but make sure that it's worded in the rule book. So um, just on e-subs, it's a little bit more vague than I think we intended it to be. But again, this is our first split as a mod team being this extensive. Normally it's just 1 to 2 people, but since we've added myself and Rusty, we're trying to make this a better place and overall make sure everybody's happy, but the rules are not only fair but are enforced equally, and that everybody's on the same page with it. So that's kind of what I'm going to comment on that. Again, I have not checked any of this out, so we'll see how this series goes. But overall, I'm excited. Again, 2 new teams, and I believe I've casted Solace Endeavors week 1, and they had a lot of impressive things. I think this is our most competitive split in general for everybody. So I'm super excited to see just all the teams interact as they continue to grow and get better moving forward. So for those out there, I'm glad you could join us. And here we go. As you kind of see not necessarily the draft. I don't have the draft, but we see a little bit of standardness. I mean, you see Jax Mundo, Syndra versus a Kale mid, which I believe is our first Kale mid of the split. And then you see a Lucian Nami bot lane, which I know has kind of been nerfed in some splits in the past, but still a very prominent bot lane. The one thing that does stand out is a Hui support. I know there is a few Reddit posts and stuff that I follow on the Hui boards that he does decent with an enchanter build. What is the average rank of this game? I believe everybody in this game is Emerald and above. If not, I think they're Diamond and above. But most of our squads in the league here range from Emerald to Masters. I think this is one of the first splits where we don't have a GM, but I know some Masters are around it. So yeah, fairly decent talent in this game overall. So let's just kind of see where we go with this game. Overall, I think both team comps kind of have a distinct direction, and they both have like comparable amounts of scaling.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Especially in the mid lane, the Kale versus Syndra. I do see the Kale bringing the D shield. That's expecting to take a lot of poke and a lot of just harass from the Syndra. Syndra did bring first strike, so she's kind of indicating that she's going to be harassing this KO quite heavily.
Minions have
Actually, with the KO bring secondary, brought second wind, unflinching. I think is really good. If he ever eats an EQ from Syndra, he gets a little more resistances there. Now, Mundo's already throwing some briefcases at Jax. Mundo no flash, which is, I think, for the most part, fairly standard. But seeing the Fairy Jungle, which has not been the I don't want to say the greatest, but we haven't seen a lot of junglers gravitate towards that, even though in a lot of the higher end pro plays, you know, it's picked fairly regularly. So this is a best of 3 fearless. You have Solace Endeavors on the blue side. You have the Femboys team on red side. You see an early level 2 coming out here with a little bit of return damage from the Hui. I will say, even though the D-Shield second wind is going to keep Kayle kind of healthy, especially with the fleet footwork as well, Syndra's going to be able to get a lot of splinter stacks here on her passive. But we see Jax trying to make a little bit of an all-in there and got turned around as he took quite a bit of minion damage there. I've seen the theory of the Flash trying to get into the brush and dodge the auto, but I think there was a minion in there. We see Naafiri invading Sejuani here since his top laner has prio, taking away this blue buff away from Sejuani, so Naafiri already causing a little bit of havoc here. We see Jax kind of getting baited here into the Mundo, but ends up taking this kill. But Jax's passive is actually like insane, and he ends up getting a double kill off of that. So what turned out to be kind of a bait there by Mundo, Jax turns it into a double kill. He had the Jax passive plus lethal tempo going up there. I think if Naafiri backs out and lets at least lethal tempo passive drop, then he wins that, but Jax also can run to his turret, so. Let's see what Jax builds here. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, so it's going to be a Trinity Force here. I would almost think just because you're ahead and you're going to be pushing this Mundo in quite heavily here, I would think Blade of the Rune King would be pretty good overall. But we'll see. It could be a Trinity into Bleed as well. So nice trade here by Jax. I think the biggest thing about the double kill that Jax got is they were both solo kills. So he just straight up 2v1. So he has a pretty big lead and experience. As we see right there, he hits level 6 pretty early overall. Oh! But he went for the dive there on Mundo, and Mundo ended up tanking it quite well. And popped the ult just to make sure. Jax did not have any summoners either. We do see a little bit of a rotation from the bot lane of Solace Endeavors as they put the bot lane mid to kind of fight for these grubs. And Kale goes bot side. Kale does have TP and level 6. But honestly, with Syndra not moving down there quickly, Kale's pushing this wave, and potentially Syndra is going to lose some resources. But let's check out. You see a Nami bubble coming in on the Sejuani here. Hui putting down the red carpet, trying to create a little bit of zone here. Jax comes in. He ends up stealing the grub, so it's 2 grubs to the Solace Endeavor team. 1 went over to Femboys. See an all-in step up coming out of Inferno there as he forced a flash out of Mocha. And he even tried to flash ahead there to secure the kill, but needed 1 more auto. So we do have it's 2 kills to 2 here, with Jax having both the kills for the Solace Endeavor team. They are down just a little under 1,000 gold here. We do see a little bit of a fight mid. Heal coming out by the Nami. Lucian forced to dash away with the Hui QW. I think the interesting thing looking at, well, we have a level 6 coming out of Nefiri here. Jax up top claims defeats a Warfare, all-ending Mundo, so that's a really insane start for this Jax here. And I think, honestly, looking at the team comp for Femboys, this Jax could be unleashed. They're fairly short range, and they don't have like the greatest amount of CC to deal with this Jax. I mean, Syndra can push away. You do have a Nami feel, so it's respectable. But if they end up burning that for some reason and Jax gets on the backline, this Jax is going to be a nightmare to deal with. But we do see the dragon going over to Femboys. It ends up being a Hextech dragon, which I think they have a lot of really solid users for the Hextech dragon, especially Lucian. It's one of the 80 carries that scales off of ability, haste, and attack speed quite well. We see an all-in coming here from Lions on this Kale. I think I feel like he could have kept pressing that advantage and at least try to force a flash out, knowing that Nefiri probably doesn't have ult still from the gank attempt mid. So, looking again, the gold is about even. You do see 2 grubs to 1 in favor of the Solace Endeavor team. Dragon is over to the side of Femboys here. CS-wise, there's a little bit of a gap mid and jungle, but everything else is, that is a touch of a gap in AD as well. But fairly even, all things considered. But this Syndra's still has a chance of like bullying out this Kale, but you see she's about to get ganked here, ends up burning the flash. Syndra on 55 stacks, so already hitting the 60 stack break point this early in the game. I think it's really good pacing for her. We see Jax all-inning this Mundo. Mundo passive came up like right after Sejuani ult hit. But we see Nami and the Fury up top. I know Sejuani tried the body block, but the Fury ult goes through everything now. Instead of being what was originally her E. No, W. So, the Fury trying to do her best, gets the turret plating, had to burn the W to dodge the turret shot. Which I still think that should not be allowed. If the turret shot's in the air, you shouldn't be able to W it. I think being able to go untargetable or invulnerable to drop aggro is fine. But I think like dodging an outright turret shot there, like Fizzy as well, I think is kind of not fun to play against. We'll say it that way. But Mundo ends up getting to this first Heartsteel. Already has a big ass bonk going. And we see what I would consider as like the Tim build coming out for Syndra. So Syndra's going full last cannon. Oh my lord. That was a lot of damage. Kill and having to trade ult for ult against the Syndra. See a little bit of a gank there by Sejuani mid. Trades a little bit of damage onto Syndra.
Turret plating will soon fall.
Now Femboys are looking to invade Sejuani here. And Sejuani ends up getting the red buff in the smite fight, so Solace Endeavor's doing a really good job protecting the jungler. Sejuani looks like she had an angle there to ult at the very beginning. But we do see Jhin opening up on this dragon here. At the same time, Jack's trying to push top lane. Femboys end up getting this dragon here. Way ult, kind of slowing a lot of people down, but didn't do the greatest amount of damage. Now you see Inferno jumping in here. Play for Days tries to Sejuani ult. Kill ult's not up, by the way, so that ends up being a double kill for the Fury here. Oh, what a bonk by Jax there after the ult. Jack's doing what he can to try and wither down this Mundo here, but Mundo's getting a couple more stacks on this Heartsteel. I feel like Jax doesn't go Blade of the Rune King here. It's going to be really hard to deal with the Mundo. So after that dragon fight, we have now 2 dragons on Femboys. They're up by around 4k on the gold. Syndra's at 80 stacks now, so definitely scaling or stacking up the splinters quite quickly here. She only has another 40 to go here. Hui doing a little bit of scouting with his abilities here. See the all-in coming out of Nefiri, supported by the Lucian Nami, and Sejuani ends up falling here. So Sejuani now having the Heartsteel completed. See how that accelerates her here. You do see Rice pumping out the Ghost here to try and run down Lion. Oh my goodness, that auto attack is insane. Lions ends up having to burn his ult on Kale. You're starting to see Femboys just slowly like grind this game into their favor more and more. You know, they're up by 5k gold here. You know, side lanes are doing pretty well. See, Jax ends up going in on the Syndra here. Syndra ends up ulting Jax. He's trying to play this trade game. Play for Days comes in here. But I felt like Jax was fighting for so long there that I don't know if it's a miscommunication on the teams or what's not. Hui ends up using the Fear, but doesn't do anything to Nefiri. Nefiri is now 4-1-2. Gets the refresh on the ult, goes after Sejuani. Sejuani does get his stun by Syndra here. And that ends up being a 3-0 for the side of Femboys. Kale finally completing the Nashor's Tooth here. I feel like if she's going to side lane, she might even want a Blade of the Rune King just to help kind of kite this Mundo. And you see a Ghost Blade coming out of Jhin. That is quite interesting. So I think he feels like if Mundo's going to be in the side lane, lethality helps damage the squishies and become a lot more impactful earlier. So we'll see how that develops. If he just goes like Ghostblade in the crit, I know that used to be a build. Bye-bye. Yep. That is a fully scaled Syndra, I believe. 97 on the Splinter stacks. Oh, you got a little bit of a miscommunication there. You got a double TP up the top lane. So, that's not good. I do think this trio here, pushing the minion waves, allows Femboys to still maintain a little bit of setup here, but we've seen the Fury going after this Kale. See how this ends up going. Kale does have ult here. See, if Nefiri ends up falling here, then that's a lot of dragon tempo that he won't, they won't have here. But Lions is low enough. But you do see, We Don't Play ends up TPing in here, so we'll see if this Jax wants to make anything. Decent poke coming out of Hui here. Shutdown going over the Jax off the Nami. Nice flash ult coming out of Hui. Ends up hitting the Lucian, and Hui ends up getting the shutdown. Hui's going full AP, mind you, as well. So, all in all, that double TP from Femboys just kind of threw off all of their tempo. Jesus Christ, what a ball. Against Solace Endeavour, so that hurt the chances there. The Mountain Drake going over, I think, is pretty massive. Sejuani doesn't have many resistances built, but what she gets off her passive supplements, and then the Mountain Drake will make that even better. Now we do see a Sundered Sky coming out of Jax here, so he's going to continue to get more and more of these bruiser items and tankier, and we'll see how he ends up faring, whether he wants to split push a team fight. I think Jax can kind of select what he wants to do here. Nice EW coming out of way here. You'll see that. Jax kind of frontlining right now. Takes care of most of the K9s from the Fury. Here, Kale's bot lane. Level 13 right now, so we could potentially see a level 16 Kale pop up in this game here in the next like 5 to 7 minutes. So Femboys though keeps kind of grinding, opening up this lead little by little here after some of these fights. So it is 33 to 41 in the gold graph, so about a 7,000 gold lead here. Though we do see that Femboys are now on this Otacon. Lions had to end up burning the ult for the Syndra ult here. And Mundo goes where he pleases, burns the ult, burns the ghost, while he maintains pressure, and Femboys ends up getting the Otacon here. So that ends up putting 9 bloody petals versus 50 set. Oh my lord. What a spread in the petals. And you can actually see that kind of reflected in the level. Like top lane's matched, but jungle's 3 levels up, 2 levels up on mid, 2 levels up on AD, even 2 levels up on support here. So, I do think this was quite an interesting build from Monk. Like, he went Storm Surge into decap, but sat on this Lost Chapter to just continue to get mana as he levels up through the game. So, interesting. We see a Blighted Jewel coming in. So, he's not really looking to complete this Lost Chapter. He just bought it for the mana. Lucian all gets fully tanked. But we see Jin having to end up backing away here as he was threatened to get R'd by Syndra. We see Jax popping forward. Sejuani ends up getting the ult. It's a fairly disjointed fight by Solace Endeavors, but they're fighting back here. They end up picking a kill here, so it ends up being 1 for none. They end up getting the Nami. I'm seeing more lethality out of this Jinx, so I'm kind of wondering, not Jinx, it's Jin. So I'm kind of wondering, oh, Jax was on a ward here, and he ends up getting taken out by Inferno's Lucian here. Not that Jin is like the best AD at dealing with tanks, but still just like, how are you guys going to kill this Mundo if Jax isn't there? Oh my lord, this Mundo is unkillable. Yeah. I guess that's how, if Mundo wants to stay there instead of run away, he's going to eventually die, but jeez Louise. So, we do have Kale getting close to level 16 here. But overall just behind an item, so kind of curious what her impact on this game is going to be. We don't have Soul Point out there yet. When's it gonna get casted? Which game? I can't do all of the games, man. Come on, I've given a lot to cast what I can. Do you see a nice turn here on this dragon? But we see Mundo just withering down this Jax here. No? I say that, and Jax did quite a bit there. Oh, Jax ends up getting the kill on the Mundo here in the split, but Nefiri came up and ends up overall taking care of Jax. Jax does have a Zanya, so I think he might look to team fight a little bit when versus Froggy. So I actually have that series recorded and it's ready to go up on YouTube. I unfortunately am not going to be able to cast that one. So there's just my friend, we had 5 series that needed to get some form of like recorded or casting done here. And Hairwick was super goated to get 3 of them. I ended up grabbing your guys' series and casting this series. So Julia, you gotta have to take care of your mid laner. Like I can't deal with him anymore, man. Like I had to record game 2 twice just because I messed it up. So I had to watch that absolute like travesty of a Fizz performance twice. It was so bad. Yeah. Why am I catching strays? Bro, you should be used to that. I'm always catching strays, so just gotta deal with it. We see all in coming out from the Solace team comp. They're putting in a decent amount of damage, especially at the AoE here from Jin and Kale. Kale is level 16, so she's able to fight back here. And they end up taking care of Nefiri, Syndra, and Nami, so you know, don't count the Solace Endeavor's team comp out. They do scale very well. I mean, you got Kale, you got Jax. Jax with the Zanyas ended up becoming like played such a major part in that fight. Yeah, Rurika, I feel the love, bro. It's just, man, 24 teams. All of the teams are competitive. Everybody wants their series casted. Like, I can respect it. But we're 2 weeks in, and all of the series are going to be out on YouTube. So, you know, we're doing our best. It might not all be casted, but at least the replays are out there. So. They keep fumbling the 5v5s. I don't know if they keep fumbling it or it's just like it's really hard for them to 5v5. Like if they don't, they have really no setup, no like go button that's not risky. Like Nefiri jumps in, then you know he just ends up getting blown up. I mean you kind of have like Nami ult if they're running at you. But Nami ends up burning the redemption there. Which I actually low-key think that's a big cooldown. Though it's a pretty quick one overall. I think the problem with ulting the Jax here is this Jax has played all of these fights super well. So if you end up setting up an ult on Jax, he can Zanya's it. Though I do see a world where like Jax can get stunned long enough to eat most of it because he didn't buy Merc Treads, which I think is a little risky here. But now we start to see Wits End coming out of this Jax, which is going to be massive for him frontlining even more. Plus, I also think if you don't ever stun Kale, Lions has been really good with his ults. So I think he just ults the Jax. Oh! Okay. I see your point. You one shot of Sejuani. Yeah. Well, there you go, Rurika. We do see this dragon, this Earth Drake, which will be Soul, getting taken solo by the jungler here. And I actually don't think Jax wins this split anymore, just because of this Mountain Soul, and overall this Warmogs coming out here from Mundo. So taking a snapshot of this game a little bit now, it's 12-16. You see the 4 dragons to 1 Mountain Soul over to the side of Femboys, and they're up about 8k, about 9k gold now. You know, they broke the mid inhib here, but this also allowed Solace Endeavors to pick up a lot of needed gold. You now have Jin on 3 items. You see the Executioner callings out for Kale, which I think is a nice touch. Full Witzing completed by Jax. So I think this Baron is exactly what they needed here to kind of start to break this defense line. Because we see that a lot with these team comps where like they get ahead, but then they have no way to like crack through the defenses once you get to the base. And most teams have to rely on Baron to do that. We do see Syndra end up having to flash out. Kale ult saves, I believe was it Sejuani for falling there, and now it's the Mundo show. Oh my word, these bonks. Yeah, they can't handle this Mundo. You see Kale trying to cut the wave, or as Rurika would call it, the ARAM macro. Yeah, Jax put up a hell of a fight here, and even Kale like did some really respectable. Oh, okay, Inferno, that's a little BM, but I respect it. No, I mean I liked overall what I seen from Solace Endeavors here. Just felt like the game got a little too accelerated too quickly for them to deal with. They got a dragon early, which is what you want to do as a Kale comp. But overall, it was super threatening to play against this Mundo once he scaled up. So let's head over to the client here. So Femboys take game 1 versus Solace Endeavor. And let's check out, you know, we've seen kind of the scoreboard, but overview, like, you know, we've seen how they were keeping it fairly close here. I mean, you only got to, you know, 3,800, 4,000 gold at 16 minutes, which is not, you know, it's not an insurmountable lead when you have a bunch of carries. But, you know, they even battled back a little bit here at the 29-minute mark. But, you know, this was Femboys kind of keeping the pressure on. They didn't They only threw the 1/5 E5 there in the base, which I think, regrounded them to, hey, let's just wait for Baron. We'll keep throwing minions at them and go from there. So Jax ends up doing a shit ton of damage. So, um, I overall just think this Hui support, if anything comes to mind, like, it does a lot of AoE damage, but Hui just innately doesn't scale that well. So, it's hard to say. But, let me go ahead and get the next game going. Oh, okay. This is an interesting game. You got an old school Senna Tom Kench coming out. You got an old school Zeri Yumi. Vagar into Victor is an interesting matchup. And a jungle York. So,
Well, this is embarrassing.
quite an interesting draft overall. So I've heard nightmare stories of people playing against a jungle York, and this is, I think, the second time I've seen it. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Actually, it might have been
30
Solace
seconds until
Endeavors
minions
that brought it
spawn.
out the first time I've seen it. But +1 Vagar. We can even see a Fiora coming out here by Rice. Okay. Victor bringing Resolve secondary with at least bone plating. Quite interesting.
Minions have spawned.
Well, this is embarrassing.
Senna took a boatload of damage off that first trade. Oh, I forgot to zoom out a little. Early level 2 by Mordekaiser here, so presses that advantage in Fiora's face. Rice getting punished heavily here by this Mordekaiser. I don't think it's. I think he's gonna end up dropping a couple CS, but not too much. And Tom Kench is at the base, waiting for nothing. All right, interesting. Nice sidesteps by Mocha.
Now you're ready to prowl.
to watch me play Veigar. Yeah, yeah, and you're one of the few that plays Veigar, I believe, in this league. I think Salt's busted it out, and that's it so far. Definitely the only Veigar this split. You don't play Veigar? Well, I mean, you did this game, so we'll see how this ends up going. Rice returning some damage here, but Mordekaiser also trading right back. Tell you what, Victor's been caught by a couple of these cages, and he's done a damn good job sidestepping without getting stunned. We do see Kindred starting up this drag and ultimately getting it without no resistance coming out of Solace Endeavour. And again, it's a mountain drake, though, not a mountain soul. I think getting that mountain drake away from Solace Endeavor's team comp is pretty helpful there. I mean, you're not really speccing into too much tank stats, but you know, Mordekaiser, who's already got a Bramble Vest, York will build Bruiser, Tom Kent will build tank. Like, you definitely don't want to. The two team comps, they're definitely Solace Endeavor's team comp is innately tankier, so getting that mountain drake off the table is definitely very useful.
Out of the store.
But we see Kindred ends up coming out, ends up stunned by Victor. Overall, well played by Victor. We see Monk flashing forward here. Is he looking for the ult and ran out of mana? Is that what I seen happen? Yeah, I think Victor was just trying to get out without burning flash, just because he knows he could get attacked again with a cage, but ultimately he had the flash. So, check on. Senna has about 22 souls here. I'm not 100% sure what the standard rate is for Senna souls. It does sound like a touch low, but it's probably also matchup dependent as well. So nice parry by the Fiora. York gets the grubs up top side. Plate goes over to Inferno and Ashes. Nice sidestep by Rice there. Cool. Nice predict on the Q. Nice fake there. So we don't play enough. Kind of put on a touch of a clinic here for this laning phase. See, let's check Veigar stacks. Veigar at 72 on the stacks. See the Kindred gets sniffed out here by the bot side, and she ends up having to flash away in the Dragon Pit here. Spectator lights his top lane matchup.
Stand ready.
Tom Kench going forward. Yumi ends up having to burn the exhaust, which is fine here. We do see York kind of coming into this bot lane brush here. But there is a ward in that middle brush, so they know that this York is here. And actually, the ghouls give it away that there's a ward in there, because they will leave the brush if there's vision. Mordecai's are chipping away at this, getting a little bit of a CS lead, about 10 so far. Tom Kench going on a warding trip. But getting all in here by this Zeri. Busted out the Ghost, Yumi ulted. There's nothing that this Senna can do. And that's first blood at 10 minutes. Over to the bot lane of Femboys. See, Rice kind of baiting out on all in here. But Kindred ends up leaving. Oh, we see Victor all in and Monk here. And Lions gets a solo kill here on the Monk. So, Monk, if you're still in the chat, can confirm you do not play Victor. No, I'm joking, bro. So I get the Q stack word. Alright, I respect it. There's 1-1. Gold is basically even here. We see the dragon getting taken here by Femboys, so we'll possibly see York beelining up to these grubs here. As I think getting 6 grubs on the side with York, Victor, Senna is probably going to be pretty useful here. And also not giving grubs over to Fiora. Feel great. We do see an all-in here by the bot lane. As Lions is getting gunned down here. We do see Senna coming here. There is some innate healing overall. See, Rice looks like he's trying to just basically fall for this turret plating. He ends up getting 2 plates at the cost of his life there, so not really too much of a net positive. You do see 2 grubs getting taken over by Kindred during all of this. So we see Tom Kench going after this Kindred. Kindred did have enough time to ult here. So let's see what ends up happening here. And the stun comes out, but Yumi ends up getting a little bit of the heal. Monk not wanting to repeat his death from mid lane there, dying to the turret. This Vigor's going to slowly start to outpace this Victor quite heavily here. Vigor's got 118 stacks. Still just a touch behind the scale, but not too much. It's still respectable. Especially if you keep dying for those Q stacks. I think it'd be definitely worth it.
Turret plating will soon fall.
Senna trying to get a cheeky ult at the top. See Monk trying to. Okay, I thought he was gonna kind of die for the turret there, but he turns around and punches Victor in the face there, gets the shutdown. So Monk getting a return kill onto Lions. Outplayed, something like that. this bot lane for Femboys is starting to get a little out of control here. All in all, looking at the items, we see everybody's fairly even on the items. You do see feats of strength going over to Femboys here. I guess the biggest discrepancy here would be in the AD side. Rice using a pretty good Q to get out of there, but this York, holy shit. That's going to be a problem. I do appreciate the Victor build going for more burst here. Like you can't play the long game into Yuumi Zeri. Inferno just playing these fights quite well. Ends up getting a flash out of Senna here. Exhaust coming out. And Impact just kind of 1v3ing this a little bit. Okay. Everybody's super low here. And it ends up being a shutdown over to Zeri off of Tom Kench. But then York ends up getting back-to-back kills there. And now we see a turret dive bot side from this Mordekaiser. Well played by Fiora, getting it out of there. So, ends up being 2 for 2 as the bot laner and jungle fall for Solace Endeavors, and Femboys just lose their bot lane. You see Mordekaiser coming up and overall jumping onto this Kindred, but this flash is, I don't want to say useless, but you have Rylai's on top of you, so it's very hard to flash away. But, you know, they're kind of daring this bot lane to come in and make something happen. You see Solace Endeavor's team here rallying up for this dragon here to stop the stacking. We do see the bot lane coming up here to gank this Victor. Let's see how Victor ends up playing this. And Veigar ends up using his skill there to press R. Nice parry overall by Fiora. Thought she got the stun off there, but didn't. You see Kindred coming down here. Mordekaiser's ult's coming back up soon. So let's see what ends up happening here. Nice dodge overall by Kindred. Kindred ends up ulting, getting ulted by Mordekaiser. And oh my god, this Mordekaiser ult. And Kindred ends up falling there. Her ult actually was not back up. You see Rice running away now. Burns the parry there. Ends up getting bonked by Tom Kench. And York ends up taking that one here. So this York and Mordekaiser duo getting online and making this game quite interesting. Likewise, the top side for Femboys 0-5 collectively. So this is going to end up being the top side of the Solace Endeavors team fighting the bot side of Femboys. Nice counterplay there on the Veigar. He lands Cage, Meteor, all that. Support did DC, but being a replay, they skipped the pauses. I think the biggest thing for the Solace Endeavour team comp is the boss side of the map for them are super behind, and honestly, it's very hard for this Tom Kench to proc Heartsteel continuously in a fight, just because the 4-1 they're going to be forced into is going to be against quad range. Senna overall struggling to get to her first item. She is at 64 stacks. Excuse me. Likewise, we look at Veigar. Veigar's got 220 stacks. Already has his death cap, so it's going to be north of 600 AP here real soon. You see 5 stacks on the Kindred here. So the infinite stackers starting to come online. You see Veigar's is 2 levels above this Victor, which is actually insane. Nice gravity field overall. You see Monk getting now jumped on here. And I believe Tom Kench flashed for a Heartsteel stack. I can absolutely respect that. Victor TPing top side. I believe they're going to make a play for Otacon here. And I don't know if they know, but the bot lane for Femboys did back. So they don't have the quickest take on Otacon. But now that York's here, it's going to speed up a little bit more. Senna is able to kind of heal and proc repetitive heals quite easily. Oh my lord! Bye, Mordekaiser. You just got Veigar. Oh, and Lions gets absolutely one-shot there by Zeri. Now you start to see Fiora popping off in the back line here. And there goes Mocha. And who ended up? York ended up getting the Ruinous Otacon here. So, and actually, I don't know if anybody stayed around and took the flowers? Question mark. But that ends up being a 4 for none.
This never ends.
Oh, that's not good. Rice potentially falling. No, the ghouls are going to hit Victor or Veigar. You see a 7-1 on this Yumi's area bot lane. Absolutely insane. Almost the 3 items here.
Back on my own.
Chase to your house and
Red team ends up taking the Infernal Drake, and now that Femboys are on Soul Point here with a very heavy scaling team comp. Let's see how they play these next couple minutes. Rice taking a little bit of a trade here, but I think he should be alright. Nope. Ends up falling to York here. Nice E coming out of York here. Forces Zeri to back out. We see at the Baron spawn at 25 minutes, Femboys are just trying to rush this down, and they end up taking it. And now Inferno's all-inning this York here. I think he's just going to end up getting taken out. Lions had a pretty good damage combo there, but end up not taking out Inferno. So they get Baron plus a kill here. And starting to break this game open. You see an 8K gold lead now coming out. Almost 9 here. So you do see Mordekaiser coming out here. Mordekaiser ends up taking out the Zeri here. Yumi ends up getting rescued by Veigar. Veigar presses the outplay button on the Mordekaiser and takes him down. But that's a big shutdown gold going over to Mordekaiser. But in all of this fighting, Fiora's just splitting this bot lane here. York, you don't have any goals yet, so I don't think you want this fight. Veigar Meteor just kind of barely misses York here. You see Gum Gum Pirate King going forward. Oh my word, this Senna is not long for this world. And with Baron getting taken, these Baron minions are putting in a lot of work. Fiora finally getting a little bit of revenge onto this York. Monk ends up now on a rampage here. Mordekaiser does not have ult. Veigar does not have ult. And that ends up being the 2 base turrets getting taken out. Rice is going to end up trying to get this top inhib and will. So what an insane push after this Baron for the Femboys team comp. They ended up taking all 3 inhibs, both Nexus turrets. And York ends up not being able to get out of the Veigar cage. And this is it. Femboys is just going to end this game. And that ends up being a 2-0 for Femboys versus Solace Endeavors. Which I really like what the top side of the map for Solace Endeavors was doing for most of this series here. Ban my Veigar. Yeah, we're gonna ban the Veigar like we're gonna ban Rurika's Fizz. But looking at the stats here, you know, I think this game was a lot more competitive than I think the stats would show. I mean, this was a pretty even gold game up until this Baron take. And then, yeah, it started to break open from there. Yeah. But look at the stats here. And, your Veigar's got to do a little more damage there, Monk. But, overall, really competitive series. I liked what I've seen from both teams here. And, yeah, just wanted to do my due diligence to get this out there and cast it. And, you know, ultimately, I think this is the last series for week 2. That we need to get out there. Apparently, Victor counters Veigar. As a fellow mid laner, I don't want to say that's like fake, but Veigar can end up putting himself in a state where he doesn't care about Victor. For the most part, I mean, he just outscales Victor, and once you burn flash on Victor, there's nothing I feel like he can do to get out of Veigar's damage. but I do see it being an annoying lane for Vagar. So, um, but yeah, that is Femboys 2-0ing Solace Endeavors here in a Week 2 series. So, hopefully everybody enjoyed this on a Monday night. And I don't think... Do we have any games tomorrow? Let me double check the schedule. No, we don't. We do have a couple of games coming up this weekend. We do have a series on Wednesday, so I believe Wednesday will be our next cast. It will not be me because that is my series, so we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, appreciate you guys coming out, and we'll see you next time.